This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. Coming at you from home and not the Chat Sports Studios because, what can I say? I'm addicted to the grind and I love talking birds. I was out on a 5-mile run. It's really hot down here in Dallas today, and some of the ideas started to get churning and wanted to hop on the mic with some of the storylines out there surrounding the Eagles and do another show. Great news here announced by the NFL today that NFL training camp dates have been announced. Philadelphia Eagles training camp will begin at the Novacare complex on July 25th. And here on the channel, I provide you with daily content of the birds. And we're going to continue to ramp up our coverage in the lead up to training camp. But once training camp, the preseason, the regular season, and the playoffs are here, you can count on us to give you informative, insightful, entertaining content. So hit that subscribe button. And if you're excited for Eagles training camp to get underway, when some of the live bullets start to fly and we can see the makeup of this roster looking to defend that NFC championship, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And at that point, we can start talking some actual football. I cannot wait. I went to the Phillies game last week. My cousins from Australia were in town and got to give them the full Philadelphia experience. Got some cheesesteaks from Tony Luke's. It's by the ballpark, so it's not my number one option, but it was the easiest. Then we tailgated in the shadows of Lincoln Financial Field, and I was looking at the stadium, and I could just hear the roar of the crowd, the roar of Eagles fans, the Fly Eagles Fly fight song, and it got me so excited for the return of Eagles football. And to give the Aussies the tailgating experience down in the South Philadelphia Sports Complex, it was awesome. It's so unique to see the Wells Fargo Center, Citizens Bank Park, and Lincoln Financial Field all in the same complex within a mile of one another. With Xfinity Live there and now the Xfinity Casino, it's so unique and it just got me juiced up. So, without further ado, let's officially begin the show here. Take a look at some Eagles buzz that's going on. And The Athletic put together an article here of the Eagles summer shopping guide. Moves that the Eagles could make in free agency, some players they could target via the trade market to try to bolster up and bulk up this roster. And they began at wide receiver here with a very notable name in Jarvis Landry. I've continued to say it throughout the offseason that outside of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, wide receiver 3 is a little bit of a question. Now, I thought it was more of a question mark prior to the signing of Olamide Zaccheaus, the St. Joe's Prep alum who was good for the Atlanta Falcons last year, was basically that team's number 2 outside of Drake London. That's kind of a byproduct of the Falcons not having a good receiving core, but to have him and Quez Watkins competing for wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 is certainly a good problem to have, especially if Quez can finally put it together. But The Athletic throwing out Jarvis Landry's name as a possession wide receiver who could compete with Zaccheaus and Quez Watkins. Here's what The Athletic had to say here. Still on the market. Let's hold off on the big name for now. There's a case to be made for signing 30-year-old Jarvis Landry if his expectations are in check. He's coming off an injury-plagued, career-worst season with the New Orleans Saints in which he caught 25 passes for 272 yards. He has only played in 3 playoff games in 9 seasons, so maybe the lure of ring chasing is enticing to some degree. Never a speed demon, Landry would be penciled into a slot-only role, potentially to open things up for Smith and Brown to work downfield, but maybe that's duplicative, good word there, with Dallas Goedert. I said on yesterday's show, Dallas Goedert, the most underrated tight end in the NFL. Yards per route run and yards per target, he's been either the leader or top 2 the last 2 years across the NFL. So if you bring in Landry, he's going to primarily play out of the slot. He's pretty slow, a possession wide receiver who on third down can help you move the chains. But if that does alter Dallas Goedert and take him out of the offense, it's simply not worth bringing in a Jarvis Landry. Just go with Quez Watkins, a speed threat, and Olamide Zaccheaus, who certainly has some wiggle. And then The Athletic took a look at some Eagles free agent targets at wide receiver on top of Jarvis Landry. Sammy Watkins is a name that's out there, but he's probably cooked. N'Keal Harry, more of a Dirty work, Zach Pascal replacement, as they put it. He's never put it together after being that first-round pick by the New England Patriots out of Arizona State. And then an intriguing name here, speedy 2018 second-round pick Anthony Miller has fallen so far that he was released by the Steelers earlier this month. I do want to ask you this question. What is the Eagles' biggest question mark heading into 2023? Let me know down in the comment section. Linebacker, tackle depth, safety, those are the concerns for me. I also want to touch on this name. That's KJ Hamler, the Penn State product, who was an explosive, dynamic threat for James Franklin's Nittany Lions and has not put it together at the NFL level, mostly because of injuries. I love the player coming out of Penn State. I thought that he was going to be special. When I was working at WNEP in Scranton, I covered Penn State football, type 570 if you're watching from northeastern Pennsylvania, and Hamler was a dynamic game changer. And the Athletic saying here, if cheap speed is the allure, two recent second-round picks stand out as undersized lottery tickets. KJ Hamler is underwhelmed in Denver with just 12 catches in 10 games over the last 2 years as he struggled to stay healthy. He's 5'9", 178 pounds, so probably confined to a specialist role, a vertical threat. But the Eagles would have evaluated him closely back in 2020 when they drafted, yes, Jalen Reagor. And then 1 year later, the Seattle Seahawks used their second-round pick on Western Michigan's D. Eskridge at 5'9", 190, 17 catches for 122 yards in 2 seasons, and looks out of the picture after Seattle had drafted Jackson Smith and Jigba to go alongside DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. KJ Hamler, you want to take a shot on him? The Eagles are loaded with some draft capital in 2024. I'm down. If he gets hurt again, that's fine. You mortgage some mid-round draft pick that's obscure. I'm taking a chance on KJ Hamler to see if he could take the top off of the defense. But again, very similar game to a Quez Watkins. Now let's shift gears to tackle depth. I previewed that just moments ago in mentioning it's a little bit of a question mark here. There are some right tackles still on the market, but not great. Right now, the Eagles roster at tackle includes Jack Driscoll, very good backup tackle, Brett Toth, Roderick Johnson, and Fred Johnson. But if the Eagles wanted to upgrade there to bring in a veteran with some more experience who's a little bit more proven, George Fant, he's 31 years old, still out there as a free agent. He started 60 games in his career. He can also play right tackle and left tackle. Spent part of the 2022 season on injured reserve with a knee injury, but has otherwise been mostly durable during his 6-year career. He was not good last year at all. But the Eagles do have some cap space here, just under $14 million per over the cap, to maybe make some of these moves and make things worthwhile for their roster. Another potential Eagles trade target here that I want to talk about here is Patrick Queen. So again, like tackle depth, linebacker is a little bit of an issue. Nakobe Dean is unproven. We're unsure the player that he's going to be. At Georgia, he was great. The instinctual skills made up for him being a little bit undersized. I like his game. I like his leadership. I like the confidence and the fire in which he plays with. But he's kind of been underwhelming in a year and change since getting drafted. Last year, couldn't really crack that defensive roster as far as playing time. And then throughout Eagles OTAs, he never really did anything that popped. It was Christian Ellis at linebacker who was playing well. So right now, it's Nakobe Dean wearing the green dot, which means that Sean Desai sends in the play call to him. He relays it to the defense. And that's an important role for sure as he steps in for TJ Edwards, who, my goodness, the type of value that he was able to receive after being an undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin, fringe 53-man roster guy, special teamer to start his career, and last year, one of the highest graded linebackers in football. You lose him, $12 million in guaranteed money to Chicago. You bring in Nicholas Morrow, who did have over 100 tackles last year, double-digit tackles for loss, but how about this name here? Patrick Queen. He's never missed a game in his NFL career. He's always one of the leaders in tackles on the Baltimore Ravens, and the Athletic throwing his name out there as well. He could be a popular solution here because Baltimore signed Roquan Smith to a long-term extension and used a third-round pick on Clemson's Trenton Simpson. Queen entering the final year of his rookie deal after the Ravens declined his fifth-year option. I thought that was surprising, but clearly they had plans to go in another direction with Roquan, who they traded for prior to the deadline, and then drafting Simpson. And Queen, as the Athletic states, has been somewhat underwhelming relative to his draft degree, number 28 overall, through 3 seasons, but he's never missed a game. He turns 24 in August, and Patrick Queen, he's been an absolute tackle machine. I want to take a look at his numbers here because I did talk about it back several weeks ago when we were talking about Queen. 106 tackles as a rookie, 98 in his sophomore campaign, 117 last year. He's been consistently available. Last year, he had 6 pass breakups as well. As a rookie, he finished 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting, and his Pro Football Focus grades aren't atrocious. If you can get him for, again, a mid to late round pick, and he could be a 1-year rental if he plays well, ups his value, but Pro Football Focus grade last year of 70, run defense grade of 62.8. That is an area that the Eagles struggled with last year. That's why they brought in Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. Pass rush grade of 75.5, and a coverage grade 68.2. League average is 70. Passer rating allowed 92.2. 18 missed tackles, not great for a backer. He did have 7 sacks. According to PFF, they don't use half sacks. They only go full numbers. 53 stops, 1 forced fumble, 28 assists, and he had 360 run defense snaps, 108 pass rush snaps, and 556 coverage snaps. So I would trade for Patrick Queen just for linebacker depth. And I want to see what Nakobe Dean can do. But, if you go Nakobe Dean, Patrick Queen, and Nicholas Morrow, with, of course, Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith as your Sam backers, they're basically going to be pass rush specialists. I am a little bit intrigued by that idea there. So, some interesting stuff from The Athletic and a conversation that I just wanted to have here on Philadelphia Eagles Now to just talk about some moves that the Eagles could make with some holes on this roster, some blemishes on that roster via the free agency market and the trade market. And I know that some people are going to say, this is clickbait, the Eagles will never do this, but what if injuries happen? Injuries happen all the time. Now, the Eagles did have pretty good injury luck last year, but for teams who oftentimes lose the Super Bowl, sometimes they're injured that following year. Hopefully the Eagles don't have that. Last couple of years, they've had a good medical staff, and they've avoided, knock on wood, some catastrophic injuries, and hopefully that continues to be the case, because if the Eagles are healthy, I think that they're going to be players once again to win an NFL championship and bring home that second Lombardi trophy. But injuries can happen, and these players can be had via free agency or via the trade market. So that's why we're talking about these targets here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. So the date is set in stone. Eagles training camp, July 25th, less than a month away. Our coverage from that point on until hopefully the Super Bowl in February in Las Vegas, going to be spectacular. You don't want to miss a thing. Make sure you subscribe to the show. It's all Philly all the time. Thanks for watching. Hit that sub button. I'm Chase Sr. Hope you have a great rest of your day.